Hello, all you happy people. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Mole Hole with the hardest working sports announcer in St. Louis that nobody's ever heard of. He's Randy Molman, and the show starts now. I am Randy Molman. Welcome to the Mole Hole, everybody. Good morning. Happy Halloween. Woo-hoo-hoo. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh. Scary times.
Do you have a joke?
I don't.
Okay.
No. My kids are now old, like I did when I was, Mark, for those that may not have heard, Mark just asked me if I had a joke. When my kids were young and we would trick or treat, I had jokes ready because I had to let those, why was, 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that type of stuff. I used to have jokes at the ready for Halloween, but I don't anymore. My kids are too old to trick or treat. And I will, though. I'm going to show my audience here. I'm going to put it up to this camera. My wife and I hosted our annual neighborhood Halloween party. No kids. Dress up party. And
I know last year you were like the Green Goblin or something.
We were.
It was you like the whole.
Miser.
You did the whole face.
I had the whole. We
Did
were
you
the
get-
Heat Miser
did you get-
and the Freeze Miser from the Christmas claymation show. Mr. Heat Miser.
Okay, you don't have to
Yeah.
sing. Don't sing, Randy.
This year
Stick that.
we
now,
were
sing.
this. I don't know if the camera can see it.
Oh yeah, we got it. Oh yeah.
That-
Are you on the left or the right? You're on the right.
Oh, of course
You
I'm on the
are
right. My wife would be offended.
I know. I didn't mean that.
We were the twins from The Shining.
Oh yeah.
The two little girl twins, for those not watching on YouTube. And we would we would grab each other's hand and look at people all night. We'd go, come play with us.
Oh no! That scares me.
Do you know how many people throughout the whole party were like, I can't even look at you. I can't. They were like, I can't look at you. I can't talk to you. You're creeping me out, man.
Yeah, I agree with them.
Halloween is fun. I know there's a lot of no fun police out there who are like, you're adults. Why are you having a Halloween? But we love Halloween. We have a good time with it.
I'm excited. I've been waiting for the winds to die down. I have 3 of the biggest blow up things you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
For the yard?
Yeah, and they're going up.
We don't get a lot of kids
Oh,
in my
packed.
neck of the neighborhood. Like if you go up a couple of streets, I'm not going to give away my address. I don't want the paparazzi.
Oh, come on, tell everybody.
I don't need people following me around. But if you go up
I just want to
TP
TP your house once. Okay, come on.
if you go up a couple of streets near my house, it's packed with kids. It's just the particular street I'm on doesn't have a ton of kids on it. So it's like we don't get a ton of kids. So what we'll do tonight is we'll hang out for a little while, give the kids that come by some candy, and then we'll walk a couple streets up to friends of ours who they're having, chili in a fire pit and the whole thing. So
Nice.
It'll be fun.
They don't give beers out to the adults, do they?
If there was adult trick-or-treating, that would be great.
Yeah.
By the way, that costume I just showed, my wife and I this morning, I just said to her, I go, how funny would it be if we got dressed back up in that costume and just walked up and down the Shrewsbury streets? Oh, no, I just said Shrewsbury. But yeah, that's right.
Oh, no.
Well, how funny would it be if we walked down the Bury in the streets, just holding hands and stopping all the kids that came up and were like, come play with us. Do you think we'd get arrested? We'd be on quite a few videos, I can tell you that. People would be like, who are these two creeps? Oh, man, that'd be fun. Anyway, happy Halloween. I know it's a good time for the kids. And this rain's supposed to clear out. It's supposed to be a very nice night. Yeah. All All right, I want to talk about we're going to get to the World Series. Dodgers win it in 5. And I will talk about how I'm starting to get nervous that the Cardinals' second place standing in terms of world championships, the Dodgers now have 8, and they're not going to be bad anytime soon.
Nope.
And the Cardinals are about to go into a retool, rebuild. And I'm starting to get nervous that number 2 championship standing we're going to get caught here in a few years.
I've been worried about that for years.
Yeah, I don't like it. But the Dodgers were far better than the Yankees. They were much better. And last night, let's talk about it now. I was going to talk about it later. Let's talk about it now. We're into it. The Yankees gave the game away in the 5th inning. 5 unearned runs, 2 errors. The pitcher doesn't cover first base on a play.
Yes.
I mean,
that was
in the World Series.
Yep.
Do you remember back in 2006 when the Cardinals beat the Tigers? The Tigers had a couple of games in that series like that where they threw the ball around, made some errors. I mean, the biggest stage for the championship, you're down 3-1. You cannot bend. And you're up 5-0. You're about to send this to game 6. Oh, my goodness. The Yankees.
Even Wainwright tweeted something about it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, knucklehead?
Everybody. Like that. And by the way, covering first base, that's the first thing pitchers work on in spring training, other than pitching, is covering first base on a hit to the right side. And Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in baseball. I love his competitiveness. He's a great pitcher. But my goodness, that was a gaffe. Aaron Judge drops an easy out. They had a force at third. Shortstop Volpe throws it in the dirt. I mean, they just unraveled. 5 unearned runs. Now, to Garrett Cole's credit, I thought Aaron Boone would pull him at that point. He comes back out and pitches and was good. Like, he shut, the Dodgers down until they hit the 2 sacrifice flies late in the game. The Yankees gave that game away. Now, they probably still would have lost the series, but they gave that game away last night, just handed it to the Dodgers after being up 5-0. Jack Flaherty, look, I root for former Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
I do. Tommy Edman and Jack Flaherty are World Series champions. But it did bum me out game 1 in this World Series when Flaherty pitched so great, and I'm watching him going, the Cardinals complain about not having young stud pitchers in their organization, and we had this guy, and somehow ruined him. And he had to go elsewhere to re-find what made him successful. And so now he's with the Dodgers, pitching game 1 of the World Series. That was our guy. Tommy Edman, look, there's only so many spots for a utility player on a team. We have Brendan Donovan. We have, we have some good, but I'm happy for Tommy Edman. He had a rough year trying to get back from the wrist injury, had a couple setbacks, finally got to the big leagues, and there's no room for him to play. So the Cardinals trade him. And he goes on to win the World Series and the NLCS MVP. And how about Luke Weaver, who gave up the sacrifice flies last night, former Cardinal starter, now the Yankees closer, and he may have solidified himself as the Yankees closer for next year because he took over the job in September and he was dominant. And that's pretty cool. Former Cardinal starter. We traded him to Arizona in the Goldschmidt trade. He had injuries. He bounced around. He couldn't stick with any clubs. He was struggling. And then he finds a bullpen spot with the Yankees and finds something, and he becomes a dominant closer down the stretch. Pretty cool for Luke Weaver, former Cardinal. Anyway, happy for Edman, happy for Flaherty, but not going to lie. For an organization that's looking for pitching, can't develop pitchers anymore, or can't develop position players, where are young stud? Jack Flaherty's still fairly young. We had him in our system. We had him on our big club. He had, one really good season. You knew he was going to be the next Adam Wainwright, the next Chris Carpenter. That's what he was billed as. Somehow the Cardinals couldn't figure him out after he struggled, and he goes elsewhere and succeeds. That's a cornerstone pitcher. He's gone. He's now with the Dodgers. Now, I I remember, I think he's a free agent, but he'll command big bucks after the year he just had. Anyway, Dodgers. If you're a Dodger fan, congratulations. As a Cardinal fan, I'm starting to get a little nervous. They now have 8 world championships. Cardinals have 11, and they're starting to nip at our heels. I don't like it. And over the next 5 years, probably, Dodgers are still going to be very good, and we're going to be working our way back. So we'll see. I am going to get to Mizzou football. The whole second half of the segment, we'll talk football. Very, very rough game at Alabama. I am going to talk NFL football. A lot of great storylines coming over the last couple of weeks. Excuse me. I have to say, NFL football to me is the best soap opera in sports. It just is. So many storylines. Who's the best team? Who's going to beat the Chiefs? Who's going to get better at the deadline? Aaron Rodgers stinks. The Jets are terrible. Like, so many good storylines. We'll get to the NFL in the second half of the segment. Now, I know it's not typical for me. I only spend a couple minutes on it usually. But look, this is my last show before we vote on Tuesday. Here we go is right. We're going to vote. I encourage you, no matter who you're voting for, let your voice be heard. I hear so many people say to me, well, our state votes a certain way. My vote really doesn't matter. It does matter. If thousands of people thought that way and they all voted the same way and they all went to vote, you don't think that would tip the scales a little bit? Come on, go vote. I do want to read, and the reason I'm going to read this is because what she says in this tweet is almost exactly how I feel about this election. So this is Jennifer Aniston's tweet. And I know a lot of people, Hollywood. Blah, blah. Yeah. You know what? There are some smart and moral and ethical Hollywood people out there, believe it or not. Jennifer Aniston tweeted yesterday. And the reason I'm sharing this again is because this is really how I feel about it also. It's as close to how I feel as anybody. Today, and by the way, yeah, here we go. Ready? Today, not only did I vote for access to health care, for reproductive freedom, for equal rights, safe schools, and a fair economy, but also for sanity and human decency. Please remember that whoever you are and wherever you live, your voice matters. Your vote matters. This is Jennifer Aniston on Twitter. I know we don't agree on everything. By the way, I have family, friends that I love. We are not aligned politically. That's okay. We don't agree on everything, and that is the beauty of this country. But good Lord, aren't we tired of this negativity towards each other? The intimidation, constant threats, and those who do not think the same as the other. Let's please end this era of fear, chaos, and the attacks on our democracy. And vote for someone who will unite us and not continue to threaten to divide us. I very proudly voted for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And then she says, we are so lucky we get to vote in this election. It's in our hands as people. We only have 1 week until Election Day. Talk to your friends, family, neighbors. Let's find a way back to each other with respect, common sense, and love. I mean, that encapsulates in a nice way, because I got to be honest, it's a lot of angry ways that I could go about saying what she just said. That's an eloquent, very nice way to express how I feel the exact same way. This election is so important because of what she posted here, and I feel the same way. We've lost compassion for each other as human beings. We've lost empathy. we're being divided, and the rhetoric is making everyone so angry. Everyone's talking about, well, I want money back in my pocket. That's why I'm voting for Trump. The economy's doing as well as it's ever done. Inflation's way down. And by the way, everyone's talking about this inflation without talking about price gouging. And guess who just talked about it yesterday? Kamala Harris. She's no longer going to allow grocery store chains, companies in this country to price gouge Americans. After the pandemic, that was the natural reaction for these companies that lost so much money. They were like, well, we got to recoup. Boom, price go through the roof. That's not on the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris. It's not her economy. This is economics 101, people. Everybody, and by the way, I'm just a normal voter. I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert in politics. I'm not an expert in economics, but this seems like common sense. We come out of a pandemic where no one spent money. These companies lost millions and billions of dollars. They come back from the pandemic and they're like, we got to recoup. They start up boosting prices on all their goods. It's got to come back to the norm. Kamala Harris just talked about that yesterday in one of her rallies. No, price gouging is way more of a problem than this inflation, which is way down right now. But to me, it's the fear, it's the hate. I'm terrified. I said this on the show before. I'm a history major that was raised Jewish. This Project 2025, these ideals and conversation pieces and talking points at these MAGA rallies is fascism. It's a mirror image of Hitler and the Nazis in the 1930s. The rhetoric is the same. The exact messages aren't the same. The rhetoric is divide the country, blame the media, point fingers at everybody else, divide the country by violent and racist rhetoric. It's what's happening. For all of you who are, I'm a lifelong Republican. I will only vote Republican. Well, you're not voting for a Republican. You're not voting. Donald Trump's not a Republican. All of his MAGA cronies are not Republicans. They're fascists. It's not the Republican Party. I saw a quote from Ronald Reagan. Everyone holds the Republican Party. They all hold Ronald Reagan up to the highest esteem, right? Ronald Reagan, I saw a quote from him that when he was given a speech, and he was talking about the value of immigrants who come to this country looking for the American dream and how America is open to those immigrants. Yes, something needs to be done at the border. I'm not arguing that. But that's not what you hear from the current fascist MAGA, which is immigrants are terrible. All we're getting are serial killers and mental patients. Everyone's coming over here and killing and murdering and raping and stealing. That all the immigrants, all lumped. Are there some that are doing horrible things? Yes. That problem needs to be addressed. There's no doubt. But are all of them doing it? No. And this other thing about the economy. I'll have more money in my wallet. You won't. Bloomberg, who is not a political organization, they don't lean one way or the other politic-wise. They have done a full study on the plans Kamala Harris has put out and the plans that, whatever plans they are, Donald Trump put out in terms of the tariffs on other countries and deportation, mass deportation of immigrants. Trump's plan, according to Bloomberg, will send us into a regression or depression. This is according to Bloomberg, not some political leaning organization. The blinders have to be taken off For those of you who think you're voting for your Republican Party, it is not a Republican Party anymore. The real Republicans, the ones you have voted for in the past, the ones that you've supported growing up, the ones your parents voted for, are the ones supporting not voting for Donald Trump, because they are real Republicans. This is your chance as a lifelong Republican, as someone who never votes for Democrats. This is your chance to right the ship for your party. End fascism. End MAGA. Vote for your party. And to do that, Trump's got to go. All the MAGA reps that got voted in have got to go. This is the most important. Look, I feel like I've said that the last 3 voting cycles. And coincidentally, who's been running for president? We cannot allow fascism in this country. And you'll be culpable if you vote for this guy when all the experts are telling you what's going to happen. Don't do it. Look, the Republican Party, if it is to be restored in its traditional values, by the way, I voted Republican before. I voted multiple sides of the party for years until the fascists got on the ballot. I can't vote for that. But I have voted for Republicans before. There are some values on the Republican side that I align with. If you want to save that party, you have to vote against Donald Trump. You cannot allow him to win. I'm sorry. He's not a Republican. These are not Republicans. Stop saying that. That's not an excuse. And the violent hatred, the rhetoric, the racism, the divisive nature of this campaign and how he's going to treat this presidency to divide this country and ruin the middle class. Come on, man. I don't even know why this is close. We have to end this and get the Republican Party back to where it was. I just don't understand. I really don't understand how half the country doesn't see. Now, I will say there's been a great trend going on, and the Harris campaign has put them in their political ads. There's apparently this great campaign going on TikTok, because this is a huge, huge election for women. All women. Reproductive rights, healthcare, voting rights. One of Project 2025's authors, who will get a position in Trump's cabinet, just posted a video of himself basically saying that women shouldn't be voting. Women shouldn't be voting? This is what you're voting for. Look, this is the biggest election in history for women and your rights and your importance. You cannot vote for this. I know that women, and there's men out there too, for sure, where their partners are huge MAGA. They're in the cult. They're into the fascism. Well, no one has to know what you voted for. And there's this huge TikTok trend going on right now that women are posting. And it is basically them canceling out their MAGA partner's vote by voting for Harris. And they're not talking about it, or they're not saying it out loud. Now, of course, if they're putting it on TikTok, everybody knows. So you're not really keeping it that quiet. But you can walk out of that voting booth doing the right thing, ending fascism, getting your Republican Party to start rebuilding where it needs to go, back to where it was before Donald Trump became the leader and took over the party and changed its values. Now is the time for you to do it. And you can walk out of that voting booth and tell your MAGA spouse or MAGA partner, You do your little fist bump. Oh, yeah, we did. We voted for MAGA. We voted for... And all the while, you did the right thing. No one has to know. You can vote the way you want, and no one has to know. It's just, I just don't... I mean, and by the way, here's the other thing. This is a value, before we go to break, this is one of the values, too, that has been now starting to be lost over the last 10 years. We teach our kids how to compete, how to win gracefully, how to lose gracefully, and be able to look at yourself in the mirror when you lose or when you don't succeed or when you fail. And you say to yourself, okay, what can I do to get better? They were better than me today. They beat me today. I didn't do well on that test today. In the last 10 years, we have developed a culture of pointing fingers. It's never your own fault. And that's a Trump thing also. There are values, morals, ethics. He's a convicted felon. Do you know that if I'm a convicted felon, I can't work for the federal government? I'm not allowed. This guy can run for president? Come on, man. What are we doing here? Stop with this long line of, I'm a Republican. I would never vote for it. You're not voting for a Republican. You're voting for a fascist, period. You're voting for divisiveness, violence, racism. You're voting for an economy that's going to crash according to multiple non-political entities that have researched and done the work and looked at the analysis. You're voting for someone who's going to divide the country and empower the 1%, take rights away from women. Come on. We can't do it. You want to get this Republican Party back, he's got to go. And you don't have to tell anyone. Go in, vote. And then walk out of there and fist bump whatever MAGA's out there and, yeah, woohoo! Knowing you did the right thing. I don't get political on this show all that often. But to me, this isn't about politics. It's not about, right versus left, you versus me. This is about saving our country and our democracy and not letting it be taken over, not letting history repeat itself in the United States of America with fascism. Go vote. Let your voice be heard. All right. That rant is over. I'm getting back to sports. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mizzou game against Alabama. I don't want to dwell on it. That was rough. And then some NFL football talk here in the Mole Hole right after.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6922 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchatas and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open Tuesday through Sunday. El Potro, 6922 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland. Find them online at elpotrostl.com.
At Fernandez Law, we represent people who have been hurt by the negligence or wrongful acts of others. We provide professional and compassionate representation to the Hispanic community in their native language. We know it can be overwhelming and frightening to deal with police, insurance companies, and doctors. We can help you, whether you have been the victim of a reckless driver, hurt by a defective product, or suffered a catastrophic injury or death in your family. We serve Missouri and Illinois and will fight for you and your family. Fernandez Law, 314-621-1252, 314-621-1252, or find us on the web at gonzalofernandez.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Get ready, high school football fans. This is Randy Molman from the Mole Hole, inviting you to join me and Michael Langston for the greatest high school football tradition in the country, the Turkey Day game. This game and this tradition dates back to 1928. The Webster Grove Statesmen will host the Kirkwood Pioneers this year for another showdown of this classic St. Louis tradition. Kickoff set for noon on Thanksgiving Day. Listen to all the action right here on KXOK 102.9 FM and KWRH 92.9 FM. All the action also available streaming online on the Odyssey and iHeartRadio apps. The Turkey Day game at Webster Groves kicks off at noon right here on KXOK and KWRH.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
We did the mash.
he
We
did the monster mash.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
It
Happy
was a
Halloween.
graveyard
We
smash.
did the mash.
It was a
Okay.
surprise.
We did the mash.
Get into it. Mizzou
He
football.
did the
My name's Randy
monster
Molman. Welcome to the
from my
Mobile.
laboratory.
Look, Mizzou's 6-2. They survived a 34-0 win at Alabama and are still ranked in the AP poll, believe it or not, number 25. So, look, I think you want me to be honest. I think one of the reasons is, I think they've looked at in totality at the Mizzou schedule and said, okay, the Vandy win was more impressive than we thought because Vandy's good. And the other thing, Texas A&M is in first place in the SEC. They're the only undefeated SEC team. So for them to hold that against Missouri, I mean, that's a horrible loss, but maybe A&M's the best SEC team right now. They thumped LSU in the second half. They were both undefeated coming into that game, and A&M LSU was winning in the first half, and A&M dominated the second half. So, and then look, their other loss is Alabama, and Alabama's always good at home. They rarely lose at home. So, they got a little break this week after the poll. Look, it was not pretty. What is striking is Brady Cook, who's now had an ankle injury, now has a hand injury. He hurt his wrist in that. He, by the way, threw two balls where his hand hit the helmet of an A&M player and then his own player when he was coming through his motion. So it's tough when you're starting quarterback is just so banged up. I mean, his ankle, his wrist, his hand Mookie Cooper didn't play Saturday. Got a couple defensive players out. Look, if you're going to look at positives of that game, which is hard to do when you lose 34-0, the defense kept them in that game for a long time. And look, at some point, if the offense is not eating time, driving down the field, scoring points, keeping your defense fresh, at some point, it's going to come back on you. And that defense just got worn down. Alabama just ended up wearing them down. I don't know what's going on with the offense. Look, everyone I've seen on social media, they're beating up Drew Pine. Look, Notre Dame went 8-2 when Drew Pine started games for them. Drew Pine didn't just all of a sudden forget how to play football. Notre Dame, a power program, went 8-2, beating 3 ranked teams when Drew Pine started. You can win with Drew Pine. You've got to come up with a solid game plan. You know, the one thing that I don't know about what's going on in this offense is that I just don't see a lot of action down the middle of the field. Everything's to the outside, short outs, bubble screens, deep fades. I don't see a lot of taking advantage of the middle of the field. I feel like offenses to be successful, they've got to mix up, where their passing game is moving the ball down the field. And I do feel like maybe down the middle of the field could be open a little bit more. We've got a great group of receivers. We've got a good, young, explosive tight end. I just can't sit here today and look at the personnel that this team has and say, well, they're about to go on a losing streak, or they're about to, lose their remaining. I just don't see that. Oklahoma's coming up November 9th. Oklahoma's not very good. That's a home game. Crowd will be amped up. Everyone's excited to renew the Mizzou-Oklahoma rivalry. You've got 2 road games left. That's South Carolina and at Mississippi State. You've got Arkansas at home. As much as these games are losable now without Brady Cook, those games are also winnable. We're not talking about playing Oregon or Texas or A&M again, or we're not talking about the top teams in the country. They're all good programs, but they're not all losable games. They're all winnable games. And if Mizzou pulls this off against teams that they can beat and go 10-2, I mean, that's what we were all kind of thinking, wasn't it? At the beginning of the year. Now look, even if they go 2-2 over the next 4, 8-4, we're going to cry about, fans are going to cry about an 8-4 season at Mizzou. I mean, will it be a little disappointing because we came in with such high expectations? Of course. That's how fandom works. But come on. Let's be realistic here. I think they can win games with Drew Pine. Whatever Notre Dame did when he started games for them 2 years ago seemed to be successful. So, and that's Notre Dame. It's not like he won games at like the Citadel. This was Notre Dame, and they beat 3 ranked teams with him starting. So, got to put him in a position to succeed. Got to mix it up a little bit. Get creative. I'm looking forward to seeing the Oklahoma game. This is a good time to have a bye week. Tigers are on a bye this week. Good time to have a bye week and get ready for the Oklahoma game. But I have been impressed with this defense. I know the A&M game got away from them early. But that Alabama game, that defense kept them within striking distance for most of that game. It got away late in the second half. And I was really encouraged by the way the defense played. So let's keep our chins up, everyone. Keep your chins up. It's all right. It's okay. We'll be all right, Tiger fans. It's like I talked about, when we were after the Cardinals' horrible season last year, and I was like, relax, it's okay. We got to just let the season play out. Let's see what happens. It's funny. I tell my friends this all the time. I used to be that fan that was like one bad loss, and I'm like, that's it. Terrible. I'm out. I'm not. God, what a horror. And I would go on and on. And then Mizzou hired Gary Pinkel. And so I'll tell you when it changed for me. His 3rd season at Mizzou, he had Brad Smith. And they turned it around and made a bowl game in his 3rd season. And I was like, all right, we might have a coach here. And we might have a good, building, And then the next year they took a step backwards and only won 5 games. And I was like, I'm out. Obviously, Gary Pinkel can't coach football, blah, blah, blah. How old was I? I was a young man back then. And then, of course, what did Pinkel do? From that point on, Mizzou was a relevant football program and had a couple of elite seasons. Ranked number 1 in 2007. Ranked number 1. Twice, Pinkel had them 1 game away from a national championship. Lost the Big 12. They were number 1 in the country, lost the Big 12 championship to Oklahoma. Had they won that game, they'd have been playing for the national title. 1 game away. Same with Auburn in 2013 when we lost the SEC championship. So what I learned from that experience as I started to get older was You have got to give these coaches time to figure out, one, what works for them, what works for their program, what works within the NCAA rules, because now the rules are all different with the NIL and transfer portal. Every year can be different. Pinkel has done, or Drinkwitz has done such a great job recruiting. He's done a great job in the portal. We've got two or three top 20 recruiting classes in a row. Pinkel never did that. So, look, I am nowhere close to being on edge with this Mizzou football program. I think it's in the right hands. It's in the great hands. Mizzou football is relevant again. We're in the conversation, and it's fantastic. Tough game last Saturday. Tough, not going to lie, for all of us. But they can win football games. They've got 4 winnable games the rest of the way. All right. Let me talk about the polls, though, real quick. What's interesting about these college football polls, and by the way, I do feel like I've said this on my show before. I've said it when it comes to basketball, when it comes to football. NIL and transfer portal is going to start to, and then the building of these mega conferences, it's going to start to level the playing field a little bit. You're not going to have every single year Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, all in the playoff, right? Now the playoffs expanded. So now players can go places that are good programs and go, well, shoot, I could make the playoff there. Missouri's one of those programs. You can make the playoff playing at Missouri. So they would have been in the playoff last year. So I look at this. Oregon, number 1. Now, Oregon traditionally is a good team. They're number 1. Georgia's traditionally good. Penn State, number 3. They're usually in the top 10. Ohio State, Miami of Florida's back. The U, they're number 5. Texas, number 6 in this AP poll. So if you're looking at the top 12 teams that are going to play in the playoff, you're looking at Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, Texas, Tennessee 7, Notre Dame 8, BYU, who could win the Big 12, so they'll be automatically in. Who knows anything about BYU? They're going to get a shot. They're going to get a shot in the playoff. Texas A&M is number 10. Number 11 is Clemson, who lost their first game and has been lights out since. Iowa State's another Big 12 competitor. Indiana's 8-0 in the Big 10. Indiana? Your top non-power conference team that'll get that number 12 seed is probably Boise State. But Indiana has a shot to make the playoff. Iowa State, BYU. Kansas State 7-1 in the Big 12. By the way, in the ACC, Miami's undefeated. So's Pittsburgh. What if Pittsburgh wins the ACC? Look, this is fun. College football is fun. There are more teams than ever that have an opportunity to make some noise in a potential 12-team playoff than we've ever had before. And new programs that are creeping around that top 10. Indiana boat raced Nebraska. Destroyed them 2 weeks ago. They're undefeated. Indiana? How cool would it be if Indiana played Oregon for the Big 10 championship? Indiana and Oregon? That'd be pretty awesome. So, look, even though Mizzou is on the outskirts now, this college football season has been a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. All right, let's go to the NFL. By the way, the Oklahoma game is going to kick off November 9th, 6 or 6:45, night game. So that'll get you Tiger fans all juiced up, ready, tailgating all day, ready to root on the Tigers against our old Big 12 foe. Also, Mizzou basketball's home opener is that Friday night, the 8th. So I'll be doing PA for the basketball game and then PA Saturday for the football game. I encourage you, pack Mizzou Arena for the Mizzou home opener for basketball, November 8th. Mizzou basketball opens the season Monday at at Memphis. That's a great opener at Memphis on Monday, Mizzou basketball. How about that? Basketball season is upon us. Okay, now let's get to the NFL. Let's focus a little bit on the AFC. I said before the season, I didn't trust the New York Jets. I didn't trust Aaron Rodgers because 2 years ago with Green Bay, he was significantly declined in terms of his performance. Then he got hurt last year. So decline in performance, a hurt Achilles. Now he's going to come back and be MVP Aaron Rodgers. I didn't buy it. It hasn't happened. He has not been good. He's not mobile. He doesn't have the arm strength he used to have. You see signs sometimes. You'll see a little, he'll dodge pressure a little bit, slide step to the left, and then he'll zip one in. You'll see it every once in a while. He is never going to be Aaron Rodgers. And of course not. He's 40 years old. I mean, come on. He's an average quarterback. And that's pretty good for 40. But do you know who outperforms him when he plays? Same age, Joe Flacco, who will start for the Colts this week. Joe Flacco still puts up numbers. But no one talks about that. Just Aaron Rodgers every week. Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. We're stuck with Jets primetime games because of Aaron Rodgers. I got to watch Sunday Night Football, the boring New York Jets. Monday Night Football. Why are we stuck with the Jets? Because it's Aaron Rodgers. They're 2-6. They're no better than they were before Aaron Rodgers. They were this bad when they had Zach Wilson. They're not fun to watch. The Jets are a bore, even with Aaron Rodgers. So they lost to the Patriots last weekend. Their playoff chances, they've lost 5 in a row. Their playoff chances are pretty much out the window. Excuse me. So, can we get it? I'm on Jets fatigue. We talk about this team like they're 6-2. They're not. Let it go. They're the New York Jets. They're a bad organization. They don't have a good head coach. Rodgers got the coach fired, brought in Devontae Adams. He's got guys around him he wants, and they still can't win because he's not good anymore. Come on, enough. I got Jets fatigue. The Miami Dolphins are interesting. Now, they lost to Arizona last week, but Tua's back, and their offense looked pretty good against the Cardinals last week. Could they ruin some teams' chances down the road? We'll see. I still like Buffalo. I love the move for Amari Cooper. What a great trade. He's a perfect fit. He's a quiet, good receiver, and they really needed that. But Buffalo in control in the AFC East. The AFC North is unbelievable. Russell Wilson, a resurgence. Everyone thought Russell Wilson was done in Denver. He's done. He's terrible. He's gone. His resurgence is way better than Aaron Rodgers' resurgence, but Russell Wilson is in a perfect scenario. It's very similar to what he had back in the Seattle heyday. A defensive head coach, a great defense, just enough weapons on offense, and the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, who is the former Falcons head coach, he's doing a good job making sure Russell Wilson takes advantage of what he's good at, and that's play action. And then he's got receivers he can just throw the ball up to. Russell Wilson throws a great deep ball. They're high, rainbow deep balls. It gives the receiver time to get underneath it and make a play on the ball. This is a very good setup. Is Russell Wilson like he was 10 years ago? No. But it's a great setup for him to succeed and for Pittsburgh to win games. He's just mobile enough to bootleg, to run play action. And Pittsburgh, who I didn't think would be very good this year, is leading that division. The Ravens' problem is their defense. They could score with anybody, but typically the Ravens have one of the best defenses in the league. Not so. The Ravens' defense in the AFC This year, they've allowed 209 points. That's second most in the AFC. That is not a typical Ravens defense. I don't know. You talk about threats to the Chiefs. I don't know that they are. They're not going to outscore the Chiefs because when the Chiefs want to score, they'll score. 5-3 Baltimore. I do think they'll make the playoffs. The Bengals will have some say. Cleveland looked, how about Cleveland with Jameis Winston? What did I say a few weeks ago? Stop playing Deshaun Watson. Now, he ended up tearing his Achilles, which that stinks. That's terrible. But Jameis Winston, who's got a cannon for an arm, tossed it around on Sunday and beat the Ravens. How about that? So it'll be interesting to see where the Browns go from here. That division, so interesting. AFC South, it's the Houston Texans division. There's really not much to talk about there except last year's rookie, Anthony Richardson, has been absolutely abysmal. And so Joe Flacco back in the starting lineup this week for the Colts. And I do think the Colts are much better with Joe Flacco. So, but this is the Texans division. AFC West, come on. We know it's the Chiefs. Denver's 5-3, but do they have a signature win? The Chargers are 4-3. They've already lost to the Chiefs once. Chargers are kind of, we'll see. So the Chiefs are obviously running away with that division. We move to the NFC. How exciting is it? We saw the preview last week. Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, Commanders versus Bears. How exciting is it that the NFC has two new teams with two new exciting quarterbacks that over the last decade have not been good football teams and are now led by these two new young stud quarterbacks that have made football exciting again in those two cities, Washington and Chicago. The future looks bright. I love that in the NFC. And by the way, don't look now. The Commanders are 6-2, leading the NFC East. They could win that division. That's unbelievable. And the Eagles, who now have all of their weapons back, A.J. Brown's back, Devontae Smith's back, Saquon Barkley has been awesome. Boy, unbelievable. Jalen Hurts looks better when all his weapons are back. Huh? Who'd have thunk it? But don't look now. The Eagles won in dominating fashion on Sunday. The Eagles could start getting it together. The Cowboys are a mess. They're not going to make the playoffs. And the Giants are a mess. So the Commanders and Eagles battling out for the NFC East. I can't wait to see Commanders and Eagles games later this year with the young talent in Washington and then Jalen Hurts and his crew in Philly. That's going to be fun. Other than the AFC North, the NFC North is also the second most interesting division. Detroit Lions are destroying teams. If the season ended today and we had to pick a Super Bowl matchup, I want to see the Chiefs and Lions. The Chiefs are undefeated. They win every week, but they don't do it in dominating fashion. They just play their game and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, come meaningful drives. Oh, all of a sudden the Chiefs turn into the best offense in the league. March right down the field, win the game. The Chiefs are the best team in the league. There's no argument. The Lions are the best team in the NFC. Their offense has been destroying teams. Their defense has been good enough to win. The Chiefs' defense is so good. The Lions' offense is so good. Imagine that matchup right now today in that Super Bowl with these two teams, Lions and Chiefs. Oh, my goodness. The Packers are really good. The Vikings are really good with Sam Darnold. And the Bears, they're good. That's a great division also, the NFC North. I cannot wait to see these games play out. The Lions and Packers play this week. This is 6-1 Detroit, 6-2 Green Bay, old school rivalry at Lambeau Field. Oh, man. Come on. Can't ask for anything better than that. AFC South is a snooze. I couldn't care less. Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay Bucks. They don't have Mike Evans. They don't have Chris Godwin. The top 2 receivers hurt. And they have to play the Chiefs on Monday Night Football without all their weapons. The Saints started out 2-0, killed the first 2 teams. Derek Carr gets hurt. They lose 5 straight. Panthers, terrible. That division's ugh. What other gross sounds can I make? The NFC West, Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, all 4-4. The Rams 3-4. They're going to be beating each other up. The Niners are going to start getting their players back. Christian McCaffrey's supposed to maybe be back after the bye. The Cardinals, who are they? One week they beat someone, the next week they get killed. I don't know, but they're going to ruin some team seasons this year. Seattle's, and the Rams, Cooper Kupp's back. Puka Nakua's back. They're getting healthy. That division's up for grabs. That's going to be fun to watch, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, you look at these divisions. The NFL is the best sports soap opera there is. So many great storylines. The divisions are intriguing. Can't wait to see how it plays out. So, I don't know. This week, Lions, Packers. Oh, that's phenomenal. Hold on. Let me share this schedule for this week. There are some really intriguing matchups before we hit the road for the day and for the week. You've got, yay, Thursday night prime time. We get to see the Jets. Yay! Broncos Ravens is interesting. Dolphins at Buffalo could be interesting because Tua's back. Other than that, there just aren't. Cardinals Bears, that'll be fun. Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, and James Conner for the Cardinals. The Bears have the group of receivers and then their running game with DeAndre Swift. Then, of course, the headliner, it's the Lions and Packers. And the Chiefs host the Bucks on Monday Night Football. The Bucks. Ugh. Joe Flacco starting for the Colts at Minnesota. That makes the Colts interesting in that game because Anthony Richardson has been so terrible. So there's some okay matchups, but man, I'm looking forward to Lions Packers. That's going to be awesome. Late kickoff on Sunday. I can't wait. All right. Well, happy Halloween, everyone. Be safe. Remember back in my day, we'd have to look at our candy and make sure there were no razor blades inside. Check your candy. Be safe. And if you see the 2 twins in any neighborhood from The Shining walking around telling you to come play with them, don't go. Don't go. Go home. Go tell your parents. And go vote. Go vote. This has been The Mole Hole. Thank you for joining this week. Until next Thursday at 8 a.m. So long, everybody.
Where was London? Hear him howling around your kitchen door. You better not let him in. Little old lady got mutilated late last night. Werewolves of London again. Werewolves of London.